Now, it's been a year since whistleblower Babita Deokaran was gunned down outside her home in Winchester Hills in the south of Johannesburg. At the time of her death, Deokaran was acting chief financial officer at the Gauteng Health Department. She was to have been a witness in the Covid-19 PPE procurement scandal valued at millions. Her family says the pain remains. This week, the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation hosted an event in remembrance of Deokaran. For more on this, we are joined by her family members, her nieces, Karishma, Rambally and Manisha Deokaran. Thank you so much for your time. To the both of you, we do appreciate it. I know it's very difficult to speak and the pain is still there. But Karishma, maybe I can start with you. It's a year on. This past week, a memorial service was held in memory of Babita Deokaran. How do you feel as a family?
Heidi, pain is still raw. We are obviously still dealing with the death of Babita, of our aunt, of our loved one. We miss her every single day. There isn't a day that goes by that we don't talk about her, share memories of her. We love and miss her terribly. It also pains us as a family when we think about a year or so ago. What was her mindset during this time? The fear for her life. We wish as a family we had known at that time to try and protect our loved one, to try and make a difference. But she is missed. She is missed so much by the family.
And I'm sure what makes it even more difficult is that the investigation by News 24 shows how your aunt was saying that she fears for her life given the investigation underway. Manisha, maybe I can ask you perhaps what your aunt meant to you and how difficult this is to be constantly reliving this, especially because your aunt is a hero and South Africans are indebted to her. So everybody keeps talking about her investigations and how vital they were to lifting the lid on corruption.
Yes, thank you for having us. I just want to say, the relationship our family shares with Babita is, on one hand, it's separate, and then the relationship that she had in her work front was completely different. I've lived with her for the past 8 years. I moved up with her in 2013, and she has been such an instrumental role in myself and my sisters, my cousins, all of our lives, and especially for her daughter Tiara. She has been such a focus and vital part in her life and her go-to person as such. So when we heard about this development, it came as an utter shock to us as a family, and it was certainly not expected. We're still trying to deal and come to terms with it every single day, and it has not been an easy road, and it will continue to be the same moving forward.
Certainly. Karishma, I want to maybe ask you, and maybe I should have asked Manisha this question, given that she stayed with Babita, but we were at the house for the lighting of candles at 8:30 on the day that she was gunned down. And when we walked into her house, we noticed that she had many pots. And the first thing I asked was, I'm sure she cooked a mean curry. And the family said yes, and that's who she was, despite the fact that she was so powerful and instrumental in the department that she worked in lifting the lid on corruption and in her investigations. She was also a mother and a loved one. And maybe Karishma and Manisha, you can maybe just tell us some of your memories, your fondest memories that you have of Babita.
Absolutely, Heidi. She, our family dynamic and the love we have for each other is such that your aunt is just not your aunt. Your aunt is your second mom. And that is exactly who she was to me and to many of my cousins and siblings. I also had, the opportunity to live with my aunt for a couple of years. She welcomed me into her home when I first started off my career. She was so impactful on all of us. Her encouragement, her support for us to be educated, for us to be independent, and then for us to succeed in our career paths. She was so impactful on so many of our lives. Leaving out just that, We had such good laughs with her. We shared so many memories with her of visiting places, sharing in fantastic things that she would cook and the recipes she would share. She was just a wonderful, warm, loving person, and we feel that void every day.
And Manisha, I'm sure you also have some fond memories of your aunt.
Yes, absolutely. She has been an instrumental role from the time I was born, so to say, especially when she was the one who initiated the move for me to move up to Joburg with her. And she welcomed me so open-heartedly in her home. And that was my home for the past 8 years and much more longer than that. Speaking of her cooking, I at least had the opportunity to learn a few dishes under her wing. She was always there, so such a mentor, always on over my shoulder and telling me, don't do this, do it that way, but ever so willing to spread her knowledge and her love to everybody around her. And it goes in her cooking and in the way she speaks to everybody as well. Absolutely loving person, and it's difficult to speak to her about her in the past tense, and we still struggling with that every single day. So yeah, there's too many memories.
Yeah, I'm sure it's very difficult. Karishma, maybe if I can pose one last question to you about the fact that just yesterday the Department of or the Gauteng government announced that 2 officials have been suspended. The one individual in Gauteng Health and the other one from the Tembisa Hospital, linked to the investigations underway at Tembisa Hospital. A lot of work that your aunt was unearthing and investigating. How does it make you feel that this has happened almost a year later after Babita Deokaran was gunned down?
It's disappointing, Heidi. That the wheels of justice is turning far too slowly than we as a family wanted to. And it's also disappointing. I mean, the first News 24 article, I think, was published over a month ago, implicating these 2 individuals in the mismanagement of state resources. And it took a month plus for some action to be taken against them. However, having said that, it is a step in the right direction. So we do welcome it as a family. We're hopeful that it is suspension without pay. But Heidi, it doesn't stop there. We still want the masterminds to be found and brought to book.
Manisha, maybe your thoughts on the progress of this investigation, or the lack thereof. As much as 6 men have been arrested in connection with Babita Deokaran's murder, the family rather, is saying that these are just the hitmen and the actual mastermind needs to be found. How do you feel, and perhaps your message to our government to say what should be done to protect whistleblowers and their lives, given the very sensitive work that they do?
Yes, definitely. This is just the start. They've got the 6 hitmen, but that's just the baseline. We are expecting much more further arrests or suspensions herein. And eventually that to lead to the mastermind, that's the ultimate goal. Ultimately, we just want justice for Babita. We don't want her rightfulness and her truth to go out in vain. And that's speaking for every whistleblower as well. They should not be afraid to come forward and speak for what's right. We need to understand and know that we're living in a country that if you are a whistleblower and you're speaking for what's right, the country will stand behind you and protect you and your family, and know that what you are doing will be heard. And ultimately, we just want justice for her and protection for the whistleblowers hearing.
Okay, thank you so much both for your time. I know it's very difficult to speak in these circumstances, but we do appreciate it. That was Babita Deokaran's family members, Karishma, Rambally and Manisha Deokaran. And I just want to say that South Africans are truly indebted to people like Babita Deokaran and every other whistleblower who have the courage to stand up and investigate when circumstances are really dangerous and risky. And that's who Babita Deokaran was. She she knew that her life was at risk, but she felt as though South Africans deserved to know what was truly going on. For example, there was furniture that was bought to the value of millions of rands in a time where people were desperate for oxygen, vaccines and ventilators during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. So those whistleblowers out there who feel scared to speak, South Africa is backing you, and we truly need that bravery and courage from you, especially if you are privy to